Hello and welcome, family, to another episode of Wake Up Africa. My name is Dr. Mumbi Seraki. Thank you to everyone who is joining us on our new Wake Up Africa podcast. Tune in, listen in, and we will actually be doing specific Wake Up Africa podcasts that will be longer, that will be delving into some of these issues. So you can definitely leave comments. I don't know if you can leave comments on podcasts, but definitely consider leaving comments if you're watching this on YouTube on what you'd like us to dive deeper. And check out our new podcast, Wake Up Africa, with Dr. Mumbi Seraki. Family, I want to give a special shout out to Michael. Thank you so much, Michael. He's the one who actually, when we got demonetized by YouTube temporarily, he actually reached out to me and he was like, get on XFM and also get on, create a podcast, which is something I'd intended to do for so long, but he kind of like shifted me into a new direction. So I really appreciate you, Michael, for giving me, sometimes family, it's not even about the financial donation. Sometimes you can literally shift someone's life just with a piece of advice, a piece of knowledge that you have that they may not have or be overlooking. And of course, special shout out to our Patreon family. Oh, I appreciate, love you so long. You've really been our foundation for the last 3-4 years. Thank you to all the new people who have come through and supported us now. We appreciate, love you so much. And we are actually going to be doing regular programming on there. There will be exclusive shows as well. And there are books that we share every week that are really worth having in your library. So family, we've been talking about this story from day one about how Rwandan asylum, the Rwanda cash for money deal with the divided kingdom, where Rwanda was going to receive asylum seekers who had snuck into the divided kingdom for like 30,000 pounds a pop, 30,000 pounds a person. And there was so much controversy over this. Demonstrations were held in the divided kingdom, and someone even took it to the judges in the divided kingdom, arguing that this was, a great breach of human rights and all this stuff. And the judge actually ignored that and said the flight will go ahead. And even now, Kigali even prepared themselves. They were like, we've organized our orientation for our new asylum seekers. After they arrive at the Kigali International Airport, they will be handed over to Rwandese authorities and driven to Hope Hostel in the city. Then they'll have an opportunity to rest or have breakfast, clean up in their rooms, and then at some point in the day or the next day, they will start an orientation, which includes registration, COVID testing, and beginning work for asylum applications. And then they'll be given basic information about Rwanda, its weather and geography, and then they will be given details of the benefits they are entitled to, which include a mobile phone, a monthly allowance of 100,000 Rwandan francs, which comes to like 80 pounds. I don't know, but 100,000 Rwandan francs sounds like a lot. And then they'd all be able to sign up for language classes, their sports and games and recreational activities. What? This is better than the Rwandese living themselves, man. And family, remember I had talked about, I think 2-3 years ago, when Rwanda had this massive PR campaign about how they were building these towns and these villages, and they were saying each Rwandese citizen would get like a house, I think a 2 or 3 bedroom house, a cow, I don't know, a what. What if that was all in preparation for this? Well, guess what? Despite all these, and I mean, Rwanda actually, they go into this whole spiel of how they've prepared for the asylum seekers. But guess what, family? At the 11th hour, literally, like the plane was on the freaking runway, the European Commission for Human Rights has intervened and stopped the whole process. And the thing is, there's been so much uproar because at first, the deal was sold to maybe Africa, let's say, as Africans who were seeking asylum in the divided kingdom would be returned to Africa via Rwanda. But then now it's become like all asylum seekers. So people from Albania, people from Poland, people from Ukraine, people from Syria, people from Afghanistan, all of them were included in this deal. And maybe that's why we're seeing such an uproar. But they're saying like in the 11th hour family, the European Court of Human Rights actually intervened in the process. Anyway, let's take a short break. We'll be right back. Wake up, Africa. Welcome back, family, to Wake Up Africa. We just had to quickly change our battery. And we were talking about how, this whole Rwandese Cash for Humans scheme with the divided kingdom has met so many hurdles and obstacles. And it looked like they'd finally gotten the green light. I mean, Boris Johnson has said so many times, okay, the flight is leaving. And it's had a lot of opposition. I wonder if it's because it's all refugees and not just African ones. Let me know what you think in the comments below. But so what happened in the 11th hour family? The European Commission for Human Rights, or European Court for Human Rights, actually made a ruling, and basically, only 7 people who had come to the UK seeking refugee status had been expected to be removed to the East African country an hour and a half before the flight was due to take off. The European Court on Human Rights came out with this ruling, and the ruling said on one of the 7 cases allowed lawyers for the other 6 to make successful last-minute applications. So each individual, they're going to really make this process complicated. Each individual asylum seeker who was being sent to Rwanda had a lawyer. And so when the first one was let through, the other lawyers saw the loophole and quickly applied for their own, their own clients, and the whole thing was called off. And, they say the decision is significant and embarrassingly a massive blow for Boris Johnson and his Home Secretary, Priti Patel, who had promised to start sending thousands of asylum seekers 4,000 miles to the East African country since May. When I'm reporting this, it's mid-June, and no flight has left. Family and a lot of people, actually, there's been so much criticism over this. We've covered it. And a lot of people felt that Boris Johnson was actually using this scheme, which was against all kinds of human rights treaties. They had tried to hint that they were working with the UN, which was also a lie. That they had used this to kind of pander, that's the exact word that was used, to kind of cozy up to the racist, white supremacists in their nation as they approached elections to try and get a re-election. But Patel actually responded to the whole thing, and she said, she was disappointed by the legal challenge. And she made pointed criticism of the European Court of Human Rights. And she said, in her own words, we will not be deterred from doing the right thing and delivering our plans to control our nation's borders. Our legal team are reviewing every decision made on this flight, and preparations for the next flight begins now. And ministers are pursuing a policy they know isn't workable, and that won't tackle criminal gangs. But they still paid Rwanda 120 million and hired a jet that hasn't taken off because they just want a row and someone else to blame. That's what Yvette Cooper had to say, and she's the Shadow Home Secretary. So there's a lot of confusion, family. And you guys have suggested many things as to why this channel is being opened now. Of course, with the Russia-Ukraine war, today it's the undesirables of the world who have landed on the divided kingdom's shores that will be sent to Africa. But tomorrow, it could be UK refugees themselves, and they'll have already established this way. Remember, Babylon is 50 years ahead of schedule. So what you see them doing today has many, many more implications for the future. But how do you feel about it? Let me know in the comments below. Where are you from? Are you from the motherland, or are you from Europe? Are you from the divided kingdom? And how do you feel about this whole, cash for money relocation of the world's refugees to Rwanda? And then did you see how Rwanda, hey, orientation? I guess that's what 30 million euros a person will get you. A monthly allowance, sports, you know, you get to chill in the Hostel of Hope or Hope Hostel. But you know, the reason we focus so much on different individual countries and what they're doing is because they set a precedent for the whole continent. Remember what Bob Marley said? We only need one free nation, one totally independent, free nation in Africa for the whole of Africa to be free. And we only need, and that goes for many, many other things. Until next time, tuko pamoja.